X-Men number 138. Jean Grey has died, and in this issue, Scott laments her death and reflects over their time as superheroes together. From the first time they saw her pull up to the mansion, and all the guys were smitten with her, except for Iceman because he's closeted and gay, to their first face-off with Magneto, and then Vanisher, and then Magneto's Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, to the time when Professor X put him in charge and took off and left him at the helm of the X-Men, to the time when Warren Worthington III got his heart broken because Jean Grey loved Scott and not Warren, and Warren was really into Jean. Then Jean almost died in the Savage Lands, and Scott realized he can't live without her. And then Bolivar Trask took the Sentinels on all the mutants, and it just seemed like they never really had time to live their own lives. They were constantly fighting until the night of Bobby's 18th birthday, when they actually did have time, and Scott told Jean his whole story about being an orphan and not ever being able to control his optic blast because of the brain injury that he got when he fell out of the airplane. And he tells her that he loves her, and she says, "I love you too." And then later that night, the professor was kidnapped, so they had to get back to action. And then they found him, and then he gets taken again, and this time he gets killed. And then the FBI breaks up the X-Men, and they eventually get back together and then learn that the professor had not been murdered. It was actually Changeling the Shapeshifter. And this is just all too much for anybody to handle. Beast leaves the team, the rest of the X-Men leave the team, a whole new crew of X-Men joined the team. But most importantly, Jean left the team and Scott stayed. And as he was training the new X-Men, Thunderbird died, and he felt super responsible for it. And that's when he started questioning, like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? I mean, is this what any of us really envisioned ourselves doing? Shouldn't I be spending more time with Jean? And so he does. And they do get some time together, and she becomes the Phoenix, and she saves the universe. And she's so supremely powerful that he doesn't even really know how to handle it. And then she ends up dying, which he doesn't know how to cope with because she's so supremely powerful, and now she's dead. So he just numbs himself off to all the feelings, but she's not actually dead. She thinks he's dead, but she's actually off getting brainwashed by Mastermind to the point where she becomes the Black Queen of the Hellfire Club, and the Dark Phoenix takes over her, and she eats a star system, and Lilandra and her Starfleet decide that they're gonna kill her, so she kills herself instead. And now they're at her funeral, and her dad is asking Scott how he's doing, and Scott's like, "Don't worry about me, you lost your daughter, how are you doing?" And then Lilandra has the nerve to show up to the funeral when it's kind of her fault that Jean's dead a little bit. I feel a little not that great about this, but she does gift Jean's dad this holopathic matrix crystal, which shows him a 3D image of Jean Grey, but it also holds her essence of her personality as well, so they can feel her forever. So that's nice. But with all of this in mind, everything they've been through, and the fact that Scott's never going to get any peace and quiet as a part of the X-Men, he decides he needs to leave. He really became a fully formed adult man with the help of Jean, and he owes it to himself and to her memory to keep it that way. So he's got to go. He can't keep being a part of this team. And at that very moment, a few miles south, Kitty Pryde arrives at Professor Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, ready to become the newest member of the X-Men.